In the final days of Joe Biden's half-century in politics, the president has laid out his legacy in a week-long farewell featuring a series of key speeches and interviews. He's also issuing a number of executive orders which will be difficult for Trump to undo, including increasing Social Security benefits for millions, banning offshore drilling in most U.S. coastal waters, removing medical debt from credit reports, expanding veterans' benefits and addressing the long-term health problems related to their service, forgiving more student debt, bringing the number of Americans who have had their student debt canceled to over 5 million, imposing Trump-proof sanctions on Russia, and negotiating a Gaza ceasefire deal. Now, earlier today, President Biden added to that list by addressing the inequities in federal drug sentencing, by commuting the sentences of nearly 2,500 people convicted of nonviolent drug crimes who are serving far longer sentences than they would receive today. Biden has issued the most pardons and commutations than any other president. It follows Biden pushing to stop the use of the death penalty at the federal level by commuting the death sentences of 37 federal prisoners to life in prison without parole. President Biden wrote today that he's proud of his record on clemency and will continue to review additional commutations and pardons. NBC News reporting just moments ago that Biden is expected to issue more pardons before leaving office on Monday, meaning there's still time and hope for those wrongly convicted and seeking clemency, including Marilyn Mosby, whose case Joy has profiled extensively on this show. Joining me now is Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley of Massachusetts. Congresswoman, very good to see you. This has just been a whirlwind at the end of an era for Joe Biden in public service, the end of his presidency. And he's made it very clear he wants to make a statement, not just in the big things, but in the small things that impact a lot of people. What's your sense of the president's desire at this moment to clarify for the American people the value of, making sure there's equality under law, that there are opportunities for those who want it, and for those who've been wrongly jailed, incarcerated, or where the sentences are out of line, let's fix that too. How do you assess the end of this era for Joe Biden?
Michael, when you have the power, you have to use it. And President Biden has the power. He and he alone has the power of clemency. And he recognizes that it is a life-changing, transformative tool. And so I commend him for acting boldly, because there are so many systemic injustices resulting in a mass incarceration crisis. The war on drugs policies, which have contributed to that mass incarceration crisis, and a broken clemency system, which has thousands of people whose lives are in limbo. So I commend President Biden for acting boldly. This most recent action, these 2,500 individuals who will be reunited with their families. It's life-changing.
It is life-changing, and I think it really goes to the heart of one of the aspects of this that Joy herself has focused on and leveled up as part of the national conversation, and that is Marilyn Mosby out of Baltimore and her situation. A lot of activists have been very clear in trying to resurrect the opportunity for her to get clemency. How do you see that? Do you support efforts like that? I mean, there's still the weekend and the last day up till 12 noon for that to happen. How do you see a case like Marilyn Mosby concluding? Do you think there's a real opportunity? Do you advocate for something like that?
Absolutely. Again, the president has acted boldly. I commend him. This is a matter of rooting out systemic injustices. This is a matter of doing the right thing. It is a matter of his legacy. And so I certainly support clemency for Marilyn Mosby. And I have to say, Boston was her first home, so we claim her. She's raised here. in my district. So I support clemency for Marilyn Mosby. I also support clemency for Michelle West, a woman who, like many others, is incarcerated for the crimes of her abuser. I also support Charles Ellis, another person from my district, the MA 7th, who has had ineffective counsel when he committed a crime at 19. I also support Ismail Lira, someone who was sentenced to life in prison for a non-violent cannabis charge. So the president has acted boldly with those 39 pardons, with those 1,500 sentences commuted, with the 37 folks on death row whose sentences have been commuted to life without parole. And he acted boldly today with the announcement, the most of any president in our history, of 2,500 individuals who will now be reunited with their families. And so I encourage him to continue to act, because this is a matter of legacy.
Yeah, it is, Congresswoman. And speaking of that legacy, another bold action by the president was a statement on the Equal Rights Amendment, where he notes, "I affirm what I believe, and what 3/4 of the states have ratified. The 20th Amendment is the law of the land, guaranteeing all Americans equal rights and protections under the law, regardless of their sex." Well, that's going to turn some MAGA heads around and set on fire. How do you see the boldness of that as sort of almost an exclamation point on his presidency and his legacy?
Equal rights under the law shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or any state on account of sex. What is so controversial about that? I cannot believe that we have been organizing for over a century to enshrine gender equality in our Constitution. How incredibly demoralizing for the women of this country. I think of my 16-year-old daughter, Cora, who I fear, if without the president's a bold declaration and affirmative statement today, and the archivist swiftly publishing the ERA in response to the president's bold declaration today, that my daughter will grow up and continue to conflate the many gender inequities and harm that come to girls and women as a normal part of her existence. A wage gap, a denial of reproductive rights and freedom, a gender-based violence, and I could go on. So what President Biden has done here, this is a victory. It's a victory, both the actions on clemency and the ERA. I'm grateful to President Biden, and I'm grateful to the movement. On this Dr. King holiday weekend, Dr. King reminded us that our most weapon is that of organizing, and we have organized. And so this is a bold, historic step in the right direction, and I urge the archivists to act swiftly. The women of this country have done their job. States have done their job. And with this bold declaration from President Biden, it is a victory and a bold step in the right direction. As we walk into the headwinds of a hostile administration, it is especially important to gird and protect the rights of girls and women in the LGBTQ community.
All right, Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, thank you so much. It's always good to see you.